You're watching a clip from the Club podcast.
Make sure you follow it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give it a 5-star review.
So here you go. Here's a lovely clip from our podcast.
This is a clip from the Club podcast. NordVPN are giving you an unbelievable discount for their service. And on top of that, 4 months free. It's an unbelievable deal. Let's be completely real. I'm watching football Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and NordVPN give you the coverage of all the goals that you might have missed, that you might not be able to get in this country, for example, and especially if you're on holiday. NordVPN, you get to sign in multiple devices. You can log into a VPN like NordVPN and watch your beloved football club wherever they are, wherever they're playing, especially with Man City playing in the Champions League. I get to watch multiple streams. NordVPN lets me do that. It's an unbelievable service. For the price of a cup of coffee, and let's be real, with the cost of living crisis, these cups of coffees are going through the roof. NordVPN is cheaper than that. You get 6 logins, and it means that you can use your VPN service with your mates, with your significant other, and of course your family members. It means the whole family can get a unbelievable coverage with NordVPN. Make sure you check it out. The link is in the description. What about Chelsea? Have they got any chance of getting top 4?
You are joking, aren't you?
Top 14,
You are
maybe.
joking. I mean, no.
Top 10.
I've written top 4 off a long time ago. Like I dreamed, and you know, sometimes you look at the league table, don't you? And you go, we've got a game in hand, and this and that, and if something were to happen like spectacularly bad for somebody else, but you know, incredibly positive for Chelsea, there is a world in which it could happen. But I've now completely written it off.
Your best shot of getting Champions League football next season is winning the Champions League.
It's our only chance.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's our only chance.
Where are you in terms of Everton? Because I thought I'd seen a little bit of an upside with Chelsea. You know, obviously making it through the Champions League in the first place is incredible. But Everton, man, what?
It was so misleading. You know that run, and I found it real wind up. Like some Chelsea fans were totally on board with Potter. They were going, yeah, 3 wins in a row. We've knocked Dortmund out of the European Cup. We've turned the corner. And I just thought, hang on, just wait. Just wait. We've beaten Leeds, who at the time were abysmal, right? We beat them 1-0. We limped to a victory. We beat Leicester, who I think, you know, they could go down. I think Rodgers could be sacked, and I genuinely believe they could go down. So those 2 wins kind of meant nothing. Yeah. And Chelsea beating Dortmund. Firstly, I didn't think Dortmund were particularly good. I know they'd won 10 in a row, but I didn't think they were particularly good. Secondly, Chelsea in Europe. We elevate. It's the club, the fans. We don't lose games at home in Europe. We have such a proud record. The club is bigger than that. The club, the force of Chelsea in Europe will overwhelm the average qualities of Graham Potter. So I think that's what happened. And then we played Everton, and I have never ever seen a result. You know the goal scorers. The goal scorers for Everton were Doucouré and Sims. Do you know what should actually happen? They should have the goals struck off. I'm not taking anything away, particularly from the young boy, but the goals should be struck off their record. And the goals should be given to Graham Potter, both of them. Graham Potter scored 2 goals for Everton. He was totally responsible for both goals. It was an amazing, cowardly display. It was such a mid-table mediocrity approach to managing Chelsea. It was well, because Chelsea go 1-0 up. So firstly, we're playing a woeful Everton team. An Everton team who cannot win away from home. An Everton team who really struggled to score goals. An Everton team who recently went to Arsenal, lost 4-0. They could go down. We're good. We've had an awful lot of money spent. There's some incredible players at Chelsea. We go 1-0 up. Joao Felix scores. We're 1-0 up.
Great finish, by the way.
That's game over.
Yeah.
Right? Any proper team, that's game over. Do you know what he did? Rather than going for the jugular, rather than going 2-0 up, and then imagine if we did go 2-0 up. We're going into the international break having won 4 games in a row. If you're 2-0 up with 15 minutes to go, maybe N'Golo Kante gets a run out. Everything would be very different now. Everything would feel very different. Instead of that, we go 1-0 up, and he panics. Coward. He panicked. And we went 3-5-2 at home to Everton with half hour left. Dyche and Ian Wone must have been looking at that going, why are they inviting us back into this game? We didn't think we had a way back in, but now we do. He took off Christian Pulisic, who wasn't having a bad game, had a glorious goal disallowed, but wasn't having a bad game at all. Took him off and brought on Conor Gallagher. Look, I like Gallagher. It's not about Gallagher, right? Gallagher got his England call up and fair play and whatever. This ain't about Gallagher at all. This is about, if Christian Pulisic can only play the half hour, can only play the hour, what you need to do, and you're going to do a sub, McKola and Mudryk is sat there. That's the move, right? That's the move. Pin them back. Give them something to think about. You bring Mudryk on, suddenly Dyche is going, okay, we need to do this. Suddenly, their defence, you've got Tarkowski and Godfrey and that, they're going, okay, we need to now worry about that. Instead of that, they bring on Gallagher. So Dyche goes, okay, I don't need to worry about that. The back line goes, oh, that ain't our problem.
Let's move up
Let's
10
move
yards.
up. Yeah. They didn't bring on Mudryk. That's weird. They brought on Gallagher. They've gone defensive. With half an hour to go, we went 3-5-2 with half hour to go to a dreadful Everton team. Invited them back into the game.
I saw the performance against Dortmund. I saw the game against Everton as well. I watched that, and you've been very hit and miss this season. And one part of me is reluctant to give too much credit for Europe because you kind of feel, and you've seen teams in the past perform irregardless of manager because they just want to be in the Champions League. So there's always that kind of comes into it. But I thought the performance against them was very good. The performance away at Dortmund was very good, despite the fact that you lost. And you have seen performances getting better. Is it unfair to, as soon as we have a little speed bump, or Chelsea, not we, as soon as Chelsea have a little speed bump, to then go, oh, the guy's out of his depth, when maybe it's just a case that this team's still in transition?
No. What's...
And I know I called him out of his depth as well. I'm just asking you.
No, that isn't the wrong thing. It isn't wrong when Chelsea drop points to Everton to go, he's out of his depth. What's wrong is when Chelsea beat Leeds or Leicester, and everyone goes, turn the corner. Like, honestly, I couldn't believe how easily pleased some Chelsea fans were. We beat Leeds and Leicester, and the geezer Graham Potter swore in an interview. I don't know if you saw that. It was pathetic.
Like
absolutely pathetic. like I'm going to use a bit of profane language, aren't I? Like it was honestly weird. Like headmaster. Yeah. And suddenly people were going, oh, he's the man. You're like, no. Chelsea could win the like. I genuinely need this to be heard, right? If Chelsea win the Champions League, he still needs to be sacked.
Wow.
Because he isn't a Chelsea manager. Like, you can win a Champions League with an average manager.
Is that identity gone, though, with the change of ownership? I'm not saying that your understanding of Chelsea, your love of Chelsea is any different for any other reason, but is this an owner that wants a younger 5-year version of Chelsea, less kind of gung-ho with the managers? Because arguably you can't afford it anymore. There aren't those managers that can come in and replace, look at Klopp. He had 7 years to win something at Liverpool. He had a long time. I think Potter's in that world a little bit.
Do you know what? I do find these...
harsh. If he wins the Champions League, he's got another season.
No. Well, Di Matteo didn't. Avram Grant should have won a Champions League, by the way. One of our worst ever managers.
He's a different owner.
Yeah, but the principle should be the same.
The guy who spent a lot of money, and by the way, but a lot of money we talk about as if Enzo Fernandez is in his prime. A lot of these guys are very young. Mudryk, Enzo Fernandez, Balaschie. They are very, very young players that need a 4-year progression with a manager. That's what I'm saying. I think you're right largely.
I agree about the players,
but Graham Potter won the Champions League, wow, he's staying there for 2-3 years.
You don't genuinely believe that?
I'm not saying if he should or not. I agree with you in terms of the sense he's not a winner, in my opinion. But if he suddenly turns around and wins the Champions League, I think this
Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League. He was sacked by November.
Isn't Abramovich? I think this owner's got a longer term outlook than Abramovich.
But we've also seen this manager be fairly trigger happy.
Yeah, it wasn't his appointment. That's the only argument that I agree with you. I'd rather have had Tuchel at this point in the season than Graham Potter.
You'd have more of a chance in the Champions League with Tuchel as well.
Yeah, of course.
But we'd have more of a chance in every game.
You do hear that Tuchel had lost the dressing room for various different reasons and non-footballing reasons.
Yeah.
And when those kind of things happen, it is then difficult to continue. But
with
Graham Potter, I just feel hasn't really got what it takes to do it in the Champions League. And I think it all comes down to the league form. The league form is the worst it's been.
Yeah, I mean, we are a mid-table team.
You're close to, I think you're level on points with Villa, who are 11th.
We're far closer. You know, if Everton had beaten us, we were 11th, they would have gone 12th. Like, if they beaten us. Like, we are far closer to bottom of the table than we are top of the table. Yeah. Like, we are the very definition of mid-table.
I'm not sitting here saying, he's the saint of Chelsea Football Club. I think he should be at the club.
He isn't a Chelsea manager.
I think if he does well in the Champions League, there's a narrative where at the start of next season, a load more players come in, and then it's the sunk cost bias. Like, I know I've used it in the live stream, but I think it's an owner
definitely getting his name wrong.
Who's very limited. I think the owner is very limited. I think the scattergun approach with signings was poor. I'd rather have 3 or 4 world-class players in their prime come in with that kind of money, for me. Because you can add on top of the young squad that Chelsea have already got. You only won a Champions League a couple of years ago.
We're both right. It's the sunk cost fallacy.
And bias.
It's not bias.
It's only a fallacy if you think it's a fallacy, though. If you believe in it, it's not a fallacy.
He's using the wrong word.
You don't Googled my thing. You just Googled your own.
You need to Google at the start before you open your mouth.
You've got a sunk cost bias to this debate.
Do you know the other thing? do you know the other thing as well? Chelsea got out of jail. There was a penalty. Probably was a penalty. The Reece James one.
Oh, mate, howler.
That was a penalty.
Especially once Everton go 1-1. The last thing they want to do is give a penalty away, and they literally played into your hands, gave that penalty away.
So we got the penalty, by the way. We're 2-1 up against Everton. Do you know Chelsea finished the game with 5 midfielders and 5 defenders on the pitch? You're just like, what are you doing? Like, we've then gone 2-1 up, so you've got another opportunity. Instead of that Fofana, brilliant player, by the way, like really good. Fofana went off. I know he had cramp, but it was just a managerial defeat. It was in years to come. when you give an example about the impact of a manager. This is one that you can use. You know, when you go, but can a manager really affect a result? Yeah, have a look at Chelsea Everton. Watch what Dyche did and watch what Potter did and look at the difference.
How mad is this? Fulham have lost their last 2 league games and still sit a point ahead of Chelsea.
Yeah, no, there's there's loads of things like that though. You could do that. You could do this all day.
Do loads?
Yeah, no, there are loads. You know, there are loads.
Brighton have played 2 less games than you.
Yeah, there we go.
And have 4 more points.
Yeah, no, you could have you could do a night with Adam McKola at the Hippodrome. But yeah, so in terms of where Chelsea go now, I mean, I think we're going to win the Champions League fairly easily, but Champions League aside, we're going to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. What do you want you to do in the league? Is it just a case now?
It doesn't matter.
Use the league as pre-season.
Doesn't matter.
For next season.
Yeah, I mean, the dream would be sack Potter, but no, the Premier League now is. We have one task in the Premier League. One task. Make sure that we lose to Man City and make sure that we beat Arsenal.
You've defo got to get that opposite way around. Arsenal going to absolutely rinse you to bits.
We need to
get a
lose
point against City.
Our entire system now, our entire team needs to lose to Man City and beat Arsenal.
Final predictions. Where do Chelsea finish in the Champions League realistically, and where do you finish in the league?
We win the Champions League and we finish 11th.
What about you, Adam?
I think Chelsea finished 10th where they are at the moment. I don't think
10th. I think you come 13th and you get smashed 10-0 by Real Madrid.
I think they go out next leg. You know.
I'm going to turn your mic off.
You don't like that. You don't like that.
When we talk about, I don't like you having an opinion on European football. You shouldn't have one.